Guðmundsson. Albert skorar! Albert Guðmundsson hefur skorað. Ragnar Bergis er skot og mark! Glæsilega! Óskar Rafn á móti Bjarna. Og Bjarni með góða sendingu fyrir og Haraldur Ingvarsson!
Hello and welcome back to the best pod ever. I am Ragnar as per usual, and I am joined by...
I am Tryggvi.
As per usual. Not that many games to discuss this week, but not 0 games. 4, in fact.
More than 0, less than
5.
5, yeah.
Depending, because there's also European games. But you're going to have to wait for that. Let us begin with round 14, or I guess the rest of round 14 in the best of the Deildin. 2 games have already been played in this round a while ago.
Back in May, I think.
Yep, back in May, where Valur beat Stjarnan 5-1 on the 30th of May, and Breiðablik and Víkingur at a 1-1 draw, also on the 30th of May. But May no longer. For now, it is July. And the rest of the teams, like you said, made up this round. Let's start with our favorite team we love to hate and hate to love.
Fram
Coward 1-0 to Fram. Not shocking, maybe.
No, it was better by Coward, or at least, I don't know. I don't know if it's better. Maybe it was just on par. Yeah, I don't know. It was good by Fram. You know, they managed to hold a bit of a barrage from Coward, especially in the sort of second half, and then managed to get a goal. So it was really impressive from Fram. But yeah, Coward is just not scoring and is conceding, which is never a great recipe.
No, those two things put together typically equal losses, which typically equals 0 points per game, which is not the greatest. I mean, if we just start with the goal, the defending is, I mean, it's unforgivable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think you counted Guðmundur Magnússon was there alone for 10 seconds or something.
Yeah, so the Coward have the ball, and they're, I guess, trying to make something of it, but they're still deep in their own half. The defenders are fully split. They're like, 20 meters apart from each other, and then Guðmundur is just standing there halfway between them, completely free. Nobody is even paying attention to him. Then Coward lose the ball, and none of the defenders pick up on this. And Fram carries the ball forward. They've carried the ball forward a few meters, 5-10 meters or something. Still, nobody pays attention to him. And then, it's a simple through pass through to the attacker, who's in the middle of the pitch. He's not out on a wing or anything. He's right in front of goal, all alone. Horrendous. It's some of the worst defending I've ever seen.
Yeah, and this is not some random second division forward. This is Guðmundur Magnússon, who was the top goal scorer, I think, a few years ago, and is Fram's major threat. If there's one person you don't let stand there, it's him.
And he has like bleached blonde hair. You can see him. You can absolutely see him. This is worse defending than I would accept from just a kickabout with my friends.
Because then I think Thiago does this assist. I think I remember them following him when he makes a run into the pitch. So like they're chasing some people, but not others, and so they're just not on the same page.
Yeah, I mean they're all over the place. It's the most amateur thing I've seen, and they should be deeply ashamed of their defending there. And this continues Coward's fantastic streak of not winning a game for 108 days. It's not a lot of games, I guess, but they have numerically regressed from 1.1 points per game under Greg to 0.75 under Palmi. I don't know. You can argue it either way, that it's Greg's work that is still sort of continuing, or you can argue that this change was terrible. I don't even know, but Coward have no idea what they're doing. And that's enough of an indictment.
Yeah, and I mean, they gave Palme the contract out the rest of the season. I mean, there's not that much left anyway now, and I mean, they can't change again. And then I think then it's an admission that this is just a house on fire. So they have to stick with him, I guess, and then hope that Oscar in his director of football ship can help somehow in the background. I don't know. Because, yeah, I mean, we went through this last week, went through game by game how many points we thought they would get, and we got up to 7 points, and that was with a draw against Fram, so they're down to 6 points if our math is correct.
Yeah, and if anything, our math was optimistic. So, I mean, at the moment, it looks like Coward are just fighting relegation. They're 2 points off relegation.
Fylkir is now 3 points behind them.
They're 3 points off relegation, which is where Fylkir is. They're 1 point off Háká. They're also 3 points off Vestri. I mean...
Yeah, so Fylkir and Vestri, who, I mean, apart from this weekend for Fylkir, those are two teams that have had a torrid time lately. And the fact that they're only 3 points ahead of them says quite a lot. A point behind Kawa, whose manager has been on the brink several times this season.
This is just farcical from Kawa.
A big win for Fram. They're now top half, 2 points ahead of Stjarnan.
Absolutely.
A little behind but they can dream. Maybe they're going to make top half.
There was an incident at the end of the game, though, with two red cards or 2 second yellows given to Tryggvi from Fram and to Alex from Kaur. Those are fair, I guess, a bit of a scuffle and a kerfuffle of sorts. But there's just the most obvious red card scenario that kicks off this whole thing, which is he only awards Alex Freyr a yellow card for this, but he runs after Atle, pushes him in the back. Clearly, it's very clear that it's on purpose. Then he chases him down in the technical area and pushes him again. This is just 2 yellow card offenses in a row.
And we can argue with Tryggvi as well. He was already on a yellow, and then he pulls it, I think, Stefan, and then he sort of just kicks him down. Stefan doesn't go down, but yeah. So that should have maybe been a straight red. So yeah, there was a lot of kerfuffle, like you said, at the end, and I thought he did a pretty decent job. Apart from that, the ref, but yeah, he just sort of lost control of it there towards the end.
I mean, it's kind of clear that he doesn't really have much control of the situation because the scuffle happens and they all group together, and the referee, you see him, he runs away from it and like puts serious distance between himself and that in some sort of, I guess, faux attempt of controlling the situation. But I don't really think it did that. And then I think he just, he couldn't handle it very well. He didn't know what to do with all this stuff. Maybe forgot this and that. But I mean, the cards that were handed out were fair. I think there should have been more. I think that one from Alex was that's insane. It's the reddest thing I've seen in a while. Yeah, Coward can't be playing football like this either. I mean, the red cards aren't going to help them.
No, I mean, that was 93rd minute, so it wouldn't have changed anything, but it's... But
it's not the only game that had some refereeing. People had issues with the refereeing. Vestri took on Kawa in Ísafjörður and lost 2-0 to Kawa. I do believe there was some refereeing, people taking umbrage with the referees.
So I had a discussion with someone on Twitter that because I just couldn't watch any more football with Icelandic, because over the last few months or weeks, it's been the Euros and or Icelandic football basically every day, and I think it was on Thursday or Friday, I just sort of tapped out. I couldn't do any more, and that was the day when Iceland women's team thrashed Germany 3-0. And a follower on Twitter was like, why didn't you watch that? And I was like, I watched a game every day, including Kawa Vestri. And I think this game was maybe a part of the reason why I couldn't watch more football. It was dreadful. But I mean, it was very much on purpose from Kawa. They completely killed the game. And then, the referees had a part to play in that, like you said. Davíð Smári, the manager, had some quotes after he didn't think it affected the result and such. He sort of was very critical of his own team to fail to create really anything. In the first half, I think they had 2 shots, both off target, completely failed to trouble Kawa in any sort of way. In the second half, it didn't really help. But I mean, the refereeing, I agree with him when he says that it was sort of, they didn't really have that much control of it either. There was so many cards. There was 8 yellow cards for Kawa, 4 for Vestri, and then a red card towards the end. And I think maybe the red card showed that little sort of lack of control. It was a very stop-start game. Like Davíð says, there was no flow in the game and endless amount of fouls, always stops, and long stops. The goalkeepers at the time, they wanted to kick out. The game was slow. The game was boring. There was no football played here today, unfortunately. It's the teams to blame as well, but it wasn't helped with refereeing.
Yeah, I mean, these sorts of games they're dreadful to watch when there's no flow. It's just they do tend to devolve into this sort of nonsense. He said it, Vesta didn't really create anything. So I guess they sort of brought this fate upon themselves, a 2-0 loss. It's an important win for Kawa, though. It puts them above Kawa in 8th place, with a shot at the top half if everything goes swimmingly for them. Which
that would be insane if they made it somehow. But yeah, I mean they're kicking off. Hallgrímur Már, who scored both goals, he's just been playing really well. And when you have players like that, and Daniel Hafsteins as well, it's just you are a better team than a lot of teams in this league, and it's proving that way. So they got out of it what they wanted.
There was also criticism all around of the referees. There was Jonthor, the EA manager, was also unhappy with the referees in their game against Fylkir, where, big upset from Fylkir beating EA 3-0. I mean, come on, EA. Do I need to talk you down again? He thinks that it should have been a red card quite early on in the game for Fylkir, where Jóhannes Wall was taken down in a goal-scoring opportunity.
I to be honest, I don't know the rules anymore. What's a red card anymore, or so I don't know if I don't know what sort of shade that card should have been, but yeah, I guess it should have been a card and a foul, which maybe a red. I don't know. There was a clear goal scoring opportunity. He was the last man, but I don't think I'm not sure either of those mean anything anymore. But I mean, he was taken down, and there was a discussion whether Jonthor was asked should he have gone down easier or something, and he said that's not what he wanted them to do. He just wanted them to call a foul on it. The commentators, Ole Jo was an old manager, and he says he has a refereeing license. He said if it was Valur, it would have been a red. An old Valur manager, so I guess he can say that.
Yeah.
And it was really early on in the game. It could have changed things, but then Fylkir took advantage of IA and sort of what we discussed a little bit earlier in the season, I guess, that they're quite slow to get back sometimes. They're not the quickest to in the transitions to get back, and Fylkir exposed them on several occasions. I think all of their goals. No, 2 of the goals, yeah. Were on these quick transitions, the first and the third goal, and then the second goal was a corner.
For the second goal, Artni, the keeper, sort of complains about something, but it's clear that he just slips. If he hadn't slipped, I think he would have caught it probably. Completely unmarked header at the far post. The first goal, they get caught out definitely in the transition. I mean, it's a great pass from Fylkir, but it shouldn't have been possible. And then the little pseudo cross, the little layup into the box for the finish. It's just atrocious defending. There's 2 of them there versus 1 striker. They should have gotten to that ball, not him. And then the last one is just a break, sort of a little bit sloppy defending around the sort of halfway line, which allows them to break fully. So they do get caught out in the transitions twice, and then 1 unlucky goal. It's unfortunate for them, I guess, but big win for Fylkir.
Yeah, huge. I mean, I don't think anyone was expecting this, especially after the 8-0 from IA over Haukar. I think maybe people were more expecting something like that. So it's an 11-goal swing from between games. It's a little bit crazy. I don't know if they were a bit complacent going into this game or what, but they really didn't threaten that much, to be honest. I felt that the Fylkir goalkeeper had a pretty good control over everything coming his way. I think he had a pretty good game, but I don't think he did anything spectacular. He just sort of claimed crosses, claimed shots and they didn't test him, I don't think, enough. Yeah, really well done, Fylkir. I think we both felt that they had this in their locker. They had these sort of goal scoring chances in their locker, but I think maybe the defense has not been the strongest, and that's maybe about to change with their new assistant manager, Brynjar Björn Gunnarsson, who some people might know from his time in Reading and other places back as a player. Mm-hmm. So he's the new assistant manager after Olgir was unceremoniously let go a few weeks ago.
Still no updates there on why?
No, nobody knows. Or I mean, I'm assuming, hopefully someone knows, but I don't know.
Someone did it accidentally and then they can't back down.
But I mean, he's a big name, not just because of ex-player. He's been a manager. His last job was a manager at Grindavik, but he's been managing Örgryte in Sweden. He was at Haukau, where he did pretty well. He's a pretty big name, and it's quite weird to get him as an assistant. But it's it's for the rest of the season. I don't know if there's some sort of plan to bring him in as the head coach at the end of the season if Runapatl is had enough, or if it's behind his back, which I really hope not, because that would be a really stupid bridge to burn. But yeah, I mean, he's an old defender, and he was seen talking to the defenders at halftime and before the game. So maybe Fylkir are about to turn the corner in the defensive side.
They would need to if they want to survive, but it's a distinct possibility. And they've shown on occasion that they're capable of scoring goals. They've outscored the two teams that are sandwiching them. They're on 21 goals scored, with the others, Haukau and Vestre, are on 16 and 17. So they're sort of relatively bottom mid-table when it comes to goals for, but they're shipping goals pretty hard. 36 conceded, which is more than any other team in the league. So if they can tighten that up, then maybe they could get some shock results to add to their collection and stay up. But the final game was the only one without any noteworthy refereeing issues or hiccups, where FH did manage to beat Haukau. And if you just look at the scoreline, it looks relatively convincing, 3-1, but perhaps not quite.
I think it was a convincing win, in the sense that if you just look at the statistics and how the game played, I think they were deserved winners. But this is a game that could have ended much worse. They scored, were ahead, everything was going well. Isa Goli scored his first goal for the club. But then just an absolute brain fart in the defense allows Haukau to equalize. The game sort of evened out after that, but still FH were the better side, but it just had a really hard time breaking through. FH aren't the biggest scorers in the league either. I think they only have 26 goals. Yeah, it's sort of mid-table, I guess.
I mean, it's the worst of the top 5, and then you have Fram on 20.
Yeah, so they're not spectacular in scoring goals, and these 3 goals boosted that, definitely. So there is a chance, there is another world where they tied this game 1-1 or even lost it somehow in the end. But no, they came through. Bjarni Guðjón, who's not had the best season, on loan from Valur, a big talent when he was at Thor, brought to Valur, didn't really play, brought on loan to FH, hasn't really played. It's been a bit of a weird season for him. So yeah, hopefully this is the kickstart that he needs for this season, because it's been a bit of a tough transition to the Bestildin for him. But yeah, a fantastic goal that he scores to put them ahead, and then I think after that there was no question how that game was going to end.
So FH are looking quite comfortably top half going into the split, when we end up going into the split. But at the moment they're on 24 points. Stjarnan in 7th on 17, so that's a 7-point drop down into the bottom half. They seem relatively safe at this point, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's probably they're making the top half split, and then hoping. I guess they're going to hope that some a less consistent team makes it up there as well, so maybe they can go for 4th, go for Europe. I mean, it's not impossible. So maybe.
So those were all the games, because like we said before, Víkingur, Valur, Breiðablik, and Stjarnan had already played back in May, because they were playing European games this time around. Víkingur unfortunately lost 2-1 to Shamrock Rovers. The first game obviously ended 0-0, so they were really hoping to go out there and win, which they did not. So this kind of puts them in a bit of a pickle, one might say.
Yeah, so Breiðablik had the exact same fixture last year. They got through, and then if you win the first leg of the Champions League qualification, you're guaranteed into the last round of the Conference League qualification at the very least, because you go into Europa League. Like if you lose every game, and if you lose the next leg of the Champions League and then get relegated to Europa League, you lose that, and then you're still make it to the last round of the Conference League, which is what Breiðablik did. So it would have made their life a lot easier. But yeah, they couldn't do it, and I think they'll look back at this and be really disappointed. Not just because they lost, but I think the whole way it played out. Shamrock Rovers knew exactly what they're doing in the first leg. They sat back, let Víkingur come at them, and they just had no solutions, which is very strange when you think of Vikingur. You think that if you let them at you, you would think they would have the solutions. We know they have the speed of Juric, they have the height of Nicola Hansen. They have all these solutions, but it at least for now, it doesn't seem like it's translating into Europe. I mean, they really need to. So they're now dropped down to the Conference League, where they're going to meet either Egnetia or Boruc, Albanian or Bosnian, I think. And yeah, I don't know. They're supposed to, I mean, they are the best, or should be the cream of the crop of the Icelandic league, and this sort of result and this sort of performance, I guess, really puts a dampener on Iceland's ambitions in Europe, I think. I mean, Shamrock Rovers aren't a bad side, but I think they just the Vikingur kind of let them do this to them. I don't think they really put up enough of a fight. But and at the same time, Nicola Hansen had a last-minute penalty that he hit against the post. If he would have scored that, Shamrock were already down to 10 men going into extra time. Maybe they could have swung this, and we're having a completely different conversation. But I don't think they should have left it that late. They should have been able to score at least at home.
Mm-hmm. Oh well, Valur also played to a 2-2 draw against Vlasnia, and this was the first leg of their tie. The second leg being tomorrow at the time of recording, so that's on a Thursday.
Yeah,
very good. I know my days of the week. Yeah, quite Valur, one might say. Starting off quick, taking the lead 1-0, and then kind of taking the foot off the gas, and then going down 2-1, and then equalizing right sort of at the death. How do you feel about their performance?
Yeah, I mean, they were very bullish going into this game. This is, like we've spoken about this, I mean, they're not out of the league. They're only 5 points behind Vikingur. The whole atmosphere around the club seems to be like they're not going to win the league. I don't know, just the whole atmosphere around them. So this is where they're supposed to shine in Europe, and they have a very tough away game now in Albania, especially with the atmosphere going how it was in Iceland. So the atmosphere in Iceland was already quite spicy. The Albanian team, Vlasnia, were very upset, the fans and the staff were quite upset that there was so much added time. I think Lucas Loye scored in the 99th minute or something. You can be upset and you can cry about it and complain, but apparently they were throwing stuff at the referees. They were fighting with the attendants. There were some death threats to the referee, to the Valur staff, to the Valur players.
They spat on the referees.
Yeah. And just a terrible. If all this is true, I mean, we saw that there was definitely a lot of agitation, but what exactly happened, we can't tell. But this is what Valur are claiming, and they've reported it to. I mean, the police was called. They reported it to UEFA. UEFA won't do anything. They're not going to move the game or anything. The game will go ahead as planned, and then maybe there'll be some action after the game, which seems a bit silly, but.
Okay, yeah. I mean, originally they talked about maybe moving it from Albania, but I guess UEFA are not about that life.
No, I think they put a more experienced referee. There was supposed to be someone from, I think, Azerbaijan or something. Apologies if that's wrong. And now they brought in a more experienced referee to, I guess, handle the situation.
What kind of makes me believe more that this bad stuff did happen is Vlasnia's reaction to it in putting out their sort of press release, just saying that the Icelandic media have been reporting insulting or something, or incorrect news about Vlasnia and their fans, and that Icelandic media and Valur should be quiet because their fans are always welcome, and we're going to welcome them, something like this. I'm translating a translation here, I think. And that they should be quiet. Like this, it's just such an, exactly the dude who wrote this and what kind of person he or she is. When something like this happens, this is not the press release you put out, that they should be quiet. You put out a press release that says you're taking things very seriously, and then you can sort of take that as just lip service, perhaps. But then you even fail to give the lip service. It shows you that I don't know. It really gives the vibe that they don't care what happened or didn't happen. And it kind of makes them look bad, from my point of view.
Yeah, so Valor have said that they're not expecting, and I guess actively encouraging fans not to travel with the team. So it's just going to be players and the staff traveling. I mean, I've been to Albania. I absolutely loved it. It's an amazing country. The people there that I met were amazing. So this is not anything against Albania as a country or anything like this. You can go to Albania, have a fantastic time, and this is just some people clearly taking this a little bit too seriously.
Traveling football fans have always been a breed of their own, and I guess they had some people that rocked up for the wrong reasons. But apparently this has gone to Interpol, which is, I guess, a real thing.
Interpol exists.
I know, but it just seems like it should only really exist in these bad cop procedural shows. It's Interpol. But I guess there's some drama there for those of us who enjoy the drama. Something to look forward to tomorrow when Valur play in Albania. Stjarnan played Linfield, and they were the only Icelandic win in the first legs. They won 2-0. Two goals from Emil Atla. How do we feel about them?
Yeah, they're really good performance. They know they're not at their strongest. Guðmundur Baldvin, I think, was injured. Their league campaign hasn't been going. It's not terrible. They're mid-table, but it's not. I think after last season, people expected really, maybe a title challenge even from them. So they knew the sort of game they were coming into, and they did really well. I mean, Linfield had chances. They missed a penalty and everything, so this could have gone completely differently, and maybe they'll get absolutely trounced in the second leg. But really grown-up performance, very clinical. Ole Valur was magnificent. Emil Atla again with 2 goals. It's not the sort of player especially I think the second goal where he sort of took a free kick and then they let him take the rebound, which is never a great idea. But Linfield, yeah, like I said, they probably should have scored 1 or 2 goals. So the away game in Northern Ireland will be tough for sure. And let's see, hopefully Stjarnan can make it through. It would be great for Icelandic football if we can get at least one team through, which is definitely not a given.
Yeah, because Breiðablik, they lost their first tie 3-2 against GFK Tikves Kavadarci, or however one would or would not say that. They were up 2-0 at halftime, though. So conceding 3 in the second half to lose it, it's gonna. To be fair, they were playing away, but still, it's gonna make the second game quite tough.
Yeah, no, I mean, if it had just been 2-2, you can go home and maybe it would just squeak it 1-0, 2-1 or something. But now they actually have to go out and win it against a team that clearly has options. Because they were losing 2-0 and they brought on 2 or 3 players, I think, at halftime, which completely shifted the game. So this is a team that has options, that has a bit of depth, and can turn these games. So this is definitely not over. But they have a chance. But they are a good team, so they have a chance going into the second leg at home. While the other 2 have to go away. But yeah, not the greatest round of European football.
No, not the greatest. But the hope lives in certain situations. On to some transfer news. Birgit Baldvins, I don't remember if we talked about this before, is set to leave Kawa to go study in the States. So they brought in Darko Bulatovic from Montenegro, I believe.
Yeah, he's been at Kawa before. I think he won 1 or 2 seasons, so he knows the club.
It's always good.
Yeah, exactly. He knows the tea lady and everything. So he'll slot it right in. Experience that. He has international caps from Montenegro, and like I said, he's been there before, so it won't be too much of a culture shock. So a good reinforcement.
Mm-hmm. And then another person leaving is Marciano Aziz, leaving Haukau.
Yeah, Joe won't be happy about that. But I guess it's been a long time coming a little bit. He hasn't quite settled in at Haukau. He had a few bursts, especially last season. But it's not really taken off this season either. Let's see. Hopefully he stays in Icelandic football. He was really good with Afturhelding, I think. So maybe he needs to drop down division, take a step back, and to come back stronger. But hopefully we'll see him again in the Besta. He's a really fun player to watch.
Mm-hmm. Another person we might not see in the Besta, Adam Paulsson from Valur, getting an offer from Perugia. Another offer from abroad for an Icelandic player.
Yeah, he's been linked with moves abroad for a while now, and he was even linked away just to another team in Besta, I think in the winter. It's not been always. He's had bursts where he's been fantastic about it, but there's been also games where he's been having to sit a bit too much on the bench. So this is maybe and if I were him and Perugia was offering a deal, I think it'd be fun. I mean, it's Serie C, so yeah, exactly. It's the third division in Italy, so it won't be coming up against the big boys just yet. But
still a step up and
exactly.
Great exposure, etc. Better pasta, nicer weather. I would take it. Absolutely.
And speaking of better pasta, I'm pretty sure Reykjavik has better pasta than Húsavík. I would hope so, at least.
I would hope so, but unconfirmed.
We'll have to let you know. And because Jakob Gunnar is, like we talked about, is definitely moving. We'll probably not see him until next season, but sources from Fótbolti.net are saying that he has chosen KR.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time of recording, we don't have that confirmed, but it's looking like it. So we'll see in the next few days.
I would say there's a non-zero probability of him just coming right away. I mean, KR would need goals.
I think, but it's one of those. I think Wilson could have said that that was the preconditioning for the sale. They wanted him to stay for the rest of the season, but I don't know if they managed to change that somehow. Nothing confirmed, like we said.
No, well, I wouldn't trust KR to push through anything like that. That requires forethought and a deft touch. So I guess we'll see him next season. Should we move on to 3 stars? You want to start with someone?
Yeah, I think Ola Riesholm should get a star. He might have already gotten a star before. I don't know, but we talked about him. But definitely, he's had a good season after being criticized a bit last season, and was absolutely fantastic in that win. Like we said, KR did start to push a little bit in the sort of mid to second half of the game, but Oliver was just absolutely fantastic and made a few really nice saves, just long enough for them to get the winner and hold on to it. So a really good performance.
Absolutely. And then Hallgrímur Mar from KR. Scoring 2 goals is, you score 4 goals, you get a star from us. If you score 2, you at least get officially considered, and he was officially considered.
He's been fantastic. He was quite sick at the start of the season. I don't think it's been confirmed what it was, but he felt really bad. It's taken a bit of time to kick on, but he's officially on. And it shows because KR are a much better side with him.
Absolutely.
And then finally, we have to give Fylkir some love. Ormar Björn, I think, should be is one of the players. We couldn't mention a few players, but Ormar Björn was, with his first goal, the way he sort of played a 1-2 with his teammate there. Set up his goal, and then I think for the third goal as well, he sort of started off the move and was just a constant threat with his running. He was. The commentator was saying as well, like, this is a boy that just does not stop running, and he's quick as well. So that's a terrible combination for defenders.
Absolutely.
So he was really, really good. Big reason for the win.
If we look ahead now at the games coming up on the 20th, 21st, and the 22nd of July, so a work week from the day of recording, sort of, kind of, not even almost 3 days. Oh, Lord. We got some games. We got HK Vestri, which is a big one at the bottom. Then we have sort of the opposite with KA Víkingur. That should be going to Víkingur, but if KA really want to play with the big boys, then this is their time to shine. Fram Valur, really could go either way. Fram are the type of team that could just sort of grind out a 1-0 there. But things could also...
Valur coming back from a tough trip from Albania as well.
For that could be a game that there's a real distinct possibility for Fram to get some points there. Stjarnan Fylkir, possibility for Fylkir to keep the momentum, but this is not something they're known for. And Stjarnan would really like to get some points there to try to jump ahead of Fram if Valur managed to beat them. So Stjarnan Fram sort of playing against each other here in this week, albeit not. Breiðablik KR, that's a Breiðablik win. I'll put my house on it. I won't, because you never know. But, come on, let's be honest here. And then FOE, probably the single most actively exciting game in terms of just the game itself, I would say. Really the sort of battle of 2 teams that they both want to be 4th real bad. Currently one of them is and the other one isn't. So that's going to be a great game to watch on Monday the 22nd. So great round, as always. Every game is going to be important. It's all going to have consequences. So let's watch the football. There's always more football.
That's true.
Amen.
Agreed.
So, see you next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.